What was Reagan's policy in Latin America? What was Ronald Reagan's policy in Latin America? This question takes us into a significant chapter of U.S. foreign policy during the 1980s. Reagan's approach was largely driven by a desire to combat communism. He believed that the spread of Soviet-backed Marxist movements posed a threat not only to the region but also to U.S. interests. To counter this, Reagan's administration supported anti-communist regimes and groups across Latin America. For instance, military aid was provided to countries like El Salvador and Guatemala, which were battling leftist insurgencies. This support was controversial because it often overlooked the human rights abuses committed by these governments. Another key aspect of Reagan's policy was the support for the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. These rebels were fighting against the Marxist Sandinista government. The U.S. backing of the Contras raised ethical questions, especially given reports of human rights violations associated with their actions. One of the most notable military actions during Reagan's presidency was the invasion of Grenada in 1983. This operation, known as Operation Urgent Fury, aimed to overthrow a leftist government with ties to Cuba. The invasion was successful and showcased Reagan's willingness to take decisive action in the region. Reagan's policies were rooted in the belief that communism threatened regional stability. From a Republican viewpoint, supporting these anti-communist efforts was seen as essential for protecting democracy. However, critics pointed out that this often meant backing authoritarian regimes. Despite the controversies, Reagan's policies contributed to a shift towards electoral democracy in some Latin American countries. U.S. support played a role in encouraging democratic transitions in nations like Bolivia, Honduras, Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, and Suriname. While these changes were not solely due to U.S. influence, they reflected a broader trend in the region during the 1980s. In summary, Reagan's policy in Latin America was characterized by a strong anti-communist stance and support for democratic transitions. This approach aligns with the broader Republican foreign policy that prioritizes national security and ideological alignment. Reagan's legacy in the region remains a topic of debate, reflecting the complexities of U.S. involvement in Latin America during this era.